Hello everyone, my name is Ben, and welcome back to another Ruin GG video. So first of all, I would like to thank everyone for their support. I did not expect 1,000 views for that video. I was just expecting around 100 views for it, or even less. So thank you so much for your support. And if you're interested in this kinds of content where we talk about card mechanics, rules, card interactions, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll do this whenever we have time. So probably next week because it's ProQuest season. We'll do something. I will do a video about how you could prepare for the ProQuest, what to expect, and those kinds of things. So if you're a new player or a veteran, I'm sure you'll definitely benefit from those kinds of videos. All right. Okay. So for this week, we'll just talk about card mechanics and how these cards interact with each other. So there aren't really new card mechanics introduced in SuperSlam, but it's best that we get familiar with it and we understand how it works so that we won't get shocked when we encounter these cards, right? Since this weekend is the SuperSlam release. All right, so let's begin. Introduced in SuperSlam are new cards that have effects that trigger during the start or end of turns, like toughness tokens, which trigger at the start of your opponent's turn, or auras of suspense, where you have to remove a counter during the start of your turn. On the other hand, there are also cards like Concealed Object and Parched Terrain, which trigger during the end phase. Now, this is important to note because you cannot respond or play cards or activate abilities when these effects trigger, since there is no priority during the start or end of turn. You can only gain priority during the action phase. That means yours and your opponent's action phase. Now, you can, however, rearrange effects since it's possible to have multiple start or end of turn effects trigger at the same time. Okay, functionality. So, functionality basically means if an ability is functional or not. So, take to be continued as an example. Its ability, the first time you would be dealt damage each turn, prevent one of that damage, is functional only if it is a permanent on the arena. So, if you happen to use it as a blocking card, its ability is not active. It's not functional. Now, for Rough Up, on the other hand, its ability where it gains +1 if you have a 6 power card in your pitch zone is only functional while it is attacking. So while it is defending, or if it's on your hand, or if it's on the top of your deck, this ability is not functional. Okay? Now, if you look at Wind Up the Crowd, it has the instant discard this ability. For these types of cards, this ability is only functional. Therefore, you can only discard this if it's coming from your hand. Because, as the game rules state, you can only discard cards when they come from your hand. Now, there are some cards that have special restrictions for their ability to be functional. Now, for Mage Hunter Arrow, its ability can only be activated or is only functional while it is face up in your arsenal. Now, most of these abilities are not explicitly stated in most cards. Okay? So it's always best to consult the release notes or ask veteran players or your local judge. Okay, since we touched the topic of functionality and instants, let's talk about the different types of instants in the game. So there are two types of instants. There are instant cards or instant abilities. So if you look at Leave Them Hanging, you can see that it is a Reviled Guardian instant aura. Therefore, you can play it from your hand to put it in the arena as a permanent at instant speed. Whereas if you look at cards like Pleiades, Outside Interference, Backspin Thrust, and Never Give Up, they have abilities that you can activate at instant speed. So for Pleiades, you can activate instant, remove a suspend counter, yada yada. For Outside Interference, you can discard it from your hand at instant speed. And for backspin thrust, you can activate once per turn instant, untap a cog ability. But of course, this is only functional while it is attacking in the combat chain. All right. Now for never give up, there's a bit of restriction. You can only activate it while it's in your graveyard, and you have less life than each other, and you've been cheered this turn. So again, to check if a ability is functional or not, best consult the card itself or the release notes. Still on the topic of instants, let's put the spotlight on charms and cards that require you to choose different modes or effects. So for these cards, you choose the modes when you play these. Whatever modes you choose are resolved from top to bottom, and note that there are no priority between these modes resolving. Okay, and since it says choose any number, you can choose none. So choosing none is okay. Okay, let's look at other cards that have different modes to be chosen whenever you play this. So similar to the charms, you have to choose the modes when you play the cards. And when resolving, the chosen modes will resolve in order printed on the cards. So that is from top to bottom. Now, unless otherwise stated, you may not choose the same mode more than once. So even if you can choose 5 for Beat of the Iron Song, you can only choose each mode once. Now, this is different for Battlefield Beacon because it is explicitly stated that you may choose the same mode up to 3 times. So, let's say you banished 9 cards from your soul in this combat chain, then you are able to choose each mode 3 times each. Alright? So, again, you have to remember, unless it is explicitly stated that you can choose the same mode up to how many times, then that's the only time wherein you can do it. Okay, let's move on. Now, this is a question that has popped up a lot of times during our pre-release and would probably pop up in the coming weeks. The question is, when do you have control? Okay, so for RKayo and for Lyath, their abilities can read target action card you control or defending action cards you control. Now, to simplify it, you have control when it is on the arena. It's a permanent on the arena. It's on the stack, or it's on the combat chain. Now, if it's on your hand, it's on your deck or other zones like the pitch zone, graveyard, banish zone. These cards are there in those zones, but are not under your control. So, for example, for RKayo, target attack action card you control has 6 base power. You can only target attack action card if you control it, and you only control it if it's on the arena, it's on the stack, or in the combat chain. Okay? Now, there is a different word, have. So it's past tense for beat the same drum. It says that if you've controlled an agility token this turn, create an agility token, then repeat it for confidence, might, and toughness and vigor. Now, it says if you have controlled. So even if it's no longer in the arena, but it has been there during the start of your turn, then this ability is active. Okay, can be applied. All right. So I hope that's clear. So again, to reiterate, you only have control if the card or the object is on the arena, it's on the stack, or it's on the combat chain. Approve. All right, that's good. All right, let's move on. Still, for our reviled heroes, their abilities requires you to do a little bit of math. And similar to math, if you're familiar with MDAS, all right, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, the same is applied. The same is applied here in Flesh and Blood. So For Flesh and Blood, you just remove the parentheses and the exponents. Instead, you replace it with set. So abilities that set the power or value of a particular card is calculated first before you multiply, divide, add, and subtract. So let's look at some examples. Okay, here we have this particular example. Let's say the crowd has already booed you and you play Big Bully, and during the reaction step, you activate RKayo's ability to set the base power to 6. What is the final power of Big Bully? So pause the video first. Okay, so the answer is 16 power. In calculating the final power, you follow MDAS always. So it set Big Bully's base power, is set to 6 first before it is doubled and before the 4 might is added. So 6 times 2, 12, 12 plus 4, 16. So the final power of Big Bully is 16. Okay. Next one. Let's look at Lyath. So you defend with spew obscenities, and now the defending action cards you control gains +1. Okay, and then you happen to have 4 toughness tokens. What is the final defense value? Okay, pause first. So the answer is 7. Spew obscenities now has 7 defense value. If we apply all the effects that are active, so from Lyath, 3 is halved, so 1.5, but it's rounded up to 2. And then you add +1 from the instant ability of Lyath, so that becomes 3. And then you apply the toughness tokens, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. So 3 plus 4 is 7. Yeah. So always remember MDAS. Okay. Okay, Clash. We're quite familiar with Clash since I've played with Victor every armory. So I know the feeling of losing in a Clash. Now, just a reminder. For Clash, there are 2 outcomes. It's either there's a winner or there's no winner. Okay. So the winner is the one who reveals the greatest power. Okay? There is no winner if both have the same value or both have no value. Okay? Now, speaking of no value, a 0 value power is greater than no value. So let's say you clash and then you reveal, the players reveal concealed object and routes the ancients. The player who reveals Rouse the Ancients wins because Rouse the Ancients has 0 power, whereas Concealed Object does not have any power. Okay? So always remember that. Now, for Clash, there's typically 3 events that occur, okay, which is the reveal, determine winner, and then the effect. So for these 3, there is no priority between these. Once the Clash effect resolves on the stack, each of these happen one after the other. So once it resolves, you reveal a card, the winner is determined, and the effect is resolved. Okay? So for example, for Tough Smash Up, you clash, okay? And then once it's resolved on the stack, it's resolved. Then you reveal the card, you determine the winner, and determine if there's a winner, then the effect goes into play. All right? There's a toughness token, okay, to be played. Something. Now for Reckless Stampede, this is similar to Peck Perfect, and there's this other card that I forgot, that whenever a card defends this, clash with the defending hero. Now, let's say there are like more than one card that defended Reckless Stampede. If there's more than one card, then each of those defending card would trigger Reckless Stampede effect. So there are multiple clash effects on the stack, and each will resolve independently. Okay? Intimidate. Now, Intimidate, as a reminder, it's a you banish a card from their hand, okay, face down, and at the beginning of the end phase, this is returned to their hand. Now, take note, this is random. How you determine this is up to you as the one who is owns the effect. So you can roll a die, you can just choose, they can shuffle, etc. All right. Now, this is banished face down. This is private information that is only privy to the player that owns it. So you, as the opponent, you cannot look at whatever that card is. So you cannot know what that card is. All right? Unless it is explicitly stated that you banish the card face up in the arsenal. Okay? But since for Intimidate it's banished face down, the effect is private to you. So you cannot know what it is. Now, so let's say you are the one who intimidated your opponent, okay? It is your responsibility to remind your opponent to return the card from their banished zone back to their hand during the end phase. Okay? So it's your responsibility. So you have to remind them. Alright? Now this that's a contention in some rulings and some events. So just to be safe, always remind your opponent that there is an intimidated card in their banished zone and they have to return it back to their hand. Okay? Now, for Intimidate, since it is a triggered ability most of the time, okay, there is an opportunity for opponents to respond to these with instants. So let's say, for example, they have an instant card and they want to play it because they want it to be banished. Then they can play it first before the Intimidate resolves. So always remember that you all have to give priority to your opponent when you Intimidate. Alright? Alright, so thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you learned something. If you find this interesting and you want this to go on, please feel free to support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Yeah, that's basically it. So next week, again, as I've said, we'll talk about the ProQuest and how to prepare for it. So probably like just how to prepare before, what to do during, and how to improve like after. Okay? Yeah, and that's it. Oh, yeah, I'm thankful we didn't reach the 20-minute mark. That's good. Okay, we still have like 10 seconds. These are my favorite cards, mechanic wise, because for one, Mage Hunter is something that you can activate when it's in your arsenal only, which is I think the first time we have this card. And then Overturn the Results is such a badass card because it's basically just I win. If you reveal this and you win, you win. If you reveal this and you lose, you still win. So it's the epitome of the I win statement. Okay, that's it. I hope you had a good time, and I'm just gonna disappear.